Hi, how you been? Good to
Good.
see you.
Let's do this,
Big shelf.
shall we?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jason Gorber from thatshelf.com. I'm speaking with the Daniels. Congratulations on your masterpiece. Which, what about
Oh,
masterpiece? Because I love the other movies too. So, like, it's a piece by masters. Let's talk about the six
oh.
years. Let's talk about the 6 years that it took to bring this thing to the big screen. Who wants to start?
All right. I'm embarrassed by how long it took. 6 years is a very long time. But my excuses are first, like this movie is so close to being an absolute mess and an absolute disaster at all times that it took a lot of honing in on the script. So the script took forever. And then casting is always a nightmare for indie films because you're always like on the lowest, the bottom of the priority list for these big name actors. And so we just kind of had to figure out scheduling and actresses falling out. And so that took a couple years out of our lives. And then the pandemic happened, which added another year and a half, if not more, to our post schedule. And the last bit is A24 knew that this movie was going to be a good theatrical experience, and so they believed in it, and they were like, "We're gonna wait until theaters can open up." So that is my short, truncated answer as to why it took that long.
Yeah.
I am
I'm
embarrassed.
pretty sure anyone who's listening or watching, when they see the movie, they won't think it was easy.
Yeah, there's nothing about it that's easy, but I would suggest that the hardest thing, inevitably, other like what do you guys do? Do you guys just show other performers what you've done before? Like, how do you articulate what this film is to those? A script doesn't seem sufficient.
That's
I
true.
do think we worked really hard to make this script the best script we had written, and to make it work on the page. But even still, it creates such a shorthand to be like, watch these short films, like watching Swiss Army Man helped people a lot, but we could also point to some of our other work.
Interesting Balls, a short film that we
Interesting Ball
did.
like is one that's very montage, but somehow emotionally lands somewhere. And then we did one called uh, Puppets that shows kind of surreal fights done on a scrappy budget. And I think it I'm so grateful that yeah, we can point to this other work we're proud of, and not just have to be like, trust us.
And then when we were talking to the actors, like the main thing we kept reiterating was this is a family drama. Just act as if you were a real human being in these, obviously very heightened scenarios. But like that was the thing that we kept coming back to. It's just like just be present, be real.
Michelle would have like laughing fits while we shot some of the sillier sequences, and the running joke was that we would shout, "It's a drama!" at her.
Yeah.
It's a family drama. Quit laughing. But it was also sort of true that like her job was to keep this protagonist emotionally consistent and to make sure that the tangents were still uh, a, still would work alongside what was the core of her character's journey, and she killed it, and we're so lucky.
Yeah, and so yeah, let's just talk about casting, because obviously you have this incredible performance by your lead, her first lead outside of Hong Kong, which is kind of insane. But
Yeah.
We had no
nonetheless,
idea.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know that. We were like, of course Michelle could be. It should be the lead of our
Yeah.
movie. And then much later, we put two and two, and we're like, oh, she's been supporting in European and American films.
And then we have Kwan, who, like, again, as I said in my interview with him, it's almost like this film is the alternate reality that we would have had him as an action star for the last 20 years, but he had to sort of go through what he went through in order to be in this film. You just talk about bringing these people, bringing these voices to the screen, and choosing which puzzle pieces to fit within the greater
Yeah.
world that you guys construct.
Yeah, there's definitely a meta narrative to the movie, which is Michelle is capable of so much more than what we've been letting her do for the last few years, and also
Same could be said about Kwan.
except Key is even worse. It's like Hollywood. Fuck you. You could have had like 20 years of this badass, like just stealing hearts, and instead you just were like, no roles for that guy. You know, he's gonna have to be behind the camera.
And then
like,
the same thing could be said for James Hong, who has more credits than probably anyone else alive right now, and yet he rarely gets to have, you know, real roles where he gets to sink his teeth into it. And I think
and he can go there. He has like emotional like acting chops, but has been kind of the wacky character actor
and so
most of the time.
This whole film is like kind of just a fun expression of untapped potential, and we finally get to see it all happen all at the same time. And I think this was not our intention. We just got really lucky that the right people were drawn to this script.
And Jamie Lee Curtis, how much convincing did she have to do to be? I mean, I don't know if she's playing against type. I think she's playing against expectation, which is even better.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, she always wanted to work with Michelle Yeoh. She was like,
That's not so bad.
Like, she was like, I don't really understand your script, but I really want to work with Michelle, and so I would like to do this.
But like, to her credit, she was very open to us. And
Yeah.
the first day of shooting, after we had gone, we did the IRS audit scene with her and the family, and she came up to me at the end of the day and it's like, okay, now I think I understand this movie. And then like 2 weeks later, we were shooting in the laundromat, and she saw the sequence, all the stuff happening in the laundromat. She's like, oh, now I think I understand this movie.
And then it premiered at South by, and she came backstage, and she had just seen it for the first time, and she was like, oh, I finally understand your movie.
Yeah.
I know that this is obviously very much sort of within the Daniels universe. I mean, it very much feels like one of your films in the best possible way. It doesn't feel like it's a repetition of what you've done before, but it's reality, but slightly sideways. That being said, there's a ton of overt references, particularly to things like Chungking Express and other Hong Kong cinema that obviously were a great deal of influences on you. If you could talk about navigating that, because that's hard. It's hard to not fall into almost parody when you're doing those moments. They're so rich and rewarding, and they clearly come from a place of love. I'm just, if there may be references I didn't get, if you want to articulate some of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, it started on one hand, it's just like how we see the world is through the lens of the movies we love, you know, like just in day-to-day life, things will happen and I'll be like, whoa, this is such a, you know,
dude, where's my car moment?
Such a dude, where's my car moment? Where's my car? But
here's a reference.
very early on while writing this, we knew that we wanted to use cinematic language to help the audience orient themselves very quickly.
Yeah, specifically just genre. We wanted to play with genre so in such a tight way that audiences always knew where they were. They never had to second guess, like, oh, which universe am I in?
So in the script, sometimes people would be confused, and we'd be like, we'd be like, so we're gonna make sure that each universe has a color palette and a musical score and a even down to aspect ratio and film quality of how we're gonna shoot
the lens choice, everything was designed around genre.
And I think that led us to like just leaning into referencing these films we love, because it was just it was narratively helpful, you know.
But then you're right, rather than going into parody, which I think was almost our first impulse, we were like, no, if I'm going to be working in these worlds, I want to do things that I'm really excited to try, things I don't know if we can pull off, you know?
Right. Let's go into places, go into genres and reference filmmakers we love.
So like, you know, obviously there's the Wong Kar-wai universe, which everyone it's so obvious because he has such a distinct style, but Hot Dog Universe, we were watching Carol.
I don't think we nailed it. It doesn't really look like Carol.
No. But still, there's a couple shots where like, oh, that's Carol.
The framing is very Carol,
yeah, exactly.
But then
Dudes, I love your film so much more than Carol. We can have that offline. But no, it absolutely felt like a Todd Haynes moment, 100%. Like it had that sort of, it's almost that sort of can romance moment. Art film moment in the middle of the thing, and it's 100% your everything bagel.
Right.
Yeah. A couple more that were fun. The Rock universe, we're like, let's make that a National Geographic movie. Raccacoonie, actually, at first we're like, what should Raccacoonie be? Should it be like a chef's table documentary,
or could it be? Should it be like a children's film? But we were like, we don't really want it to look like, you know, Disney Channel, and so we ended up making it more like Magnolia.
Oh, that's it.
Just like a
Just
lot.
like just take it dead serious. This
It's-
is an emotional
Yeah,
journey.
Magnolia has a lot of just it's all anamorphic lenses, lots of like little flaring every now and then, and like the lighting is it's very theatrical, and so yeah, our cinematographers are very excited. Like let's make it feel like a 90s PTA movie.
Right.
Amazing. And so when this film inevitably shows up on Criterion, it'll be beside many of the films you're actually referencing. How does that make you guys feel?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'll just drop that
It's
one.
already like been the last few weeks have been surreal, and we're so flattered that like a lot of other filmmakers have reached out to us to say they like it, or we've bumped into them at screenings, and my brain just immediately goes to like the ways in which I ripped each of them off.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, thank you for the compliment. I ripped off this movie, you know, like
Edgar Wright reached out and emailed us this really beautiful letter or email, and we're like, thanks. We referenced this movie for we watched how you edited it. We watched how you did insert shots, and so it's been really fun to just basically say directly to our influences, thank you,
right,
because of this movie. This movie opened the door to those conversations.
And very last question. Obviously, it's Elevation Pictures here supporting the film, A24 in the States. If you could talk about what it means, how that's working. It's sort of it's a studio, but not a studio. It is certainly something that's designated for theatrical. Given what you do and the weirdness that you do, it doesn't always speak to large audiences. How hard is it, and how rewarding is it to work within this kind of mini studio system?
Yeah, I mean, we're so grateful that A24 likes us because they're pretty hands off creatively, and they're good at marketing the movie, and they have great relationships with other partners, and we love the theatrical experience, and I keep kind of saying that to me, it's not necessarily about it sounding great or being the biggest screen, although that is fun. Like it's about the shared experience and about like listening to other people laugh, and it's about like hearing people talk about the movie when you pee afterwards. Like there's something, and we designed this movie to harness all of our favorite aspects of kind of the theatrical experience. So we're so happy that not all theaters went out of business, and that we're selling tickets and that they get a cut of it, because like I love going to the movies.
You are speaking to something that I'm really excited to talk about right now, which is like our cinematic, just the industry has gotten really divided. There's such a tension between critics and audiences, and like the fanboys and the cinephiles, and the debate between Marvel versus Scorsese. All this stuff it feels so silly because it's all film, it's all cinema, it's all what we love. And this movie was very much us trying to combine all of it in a way that was like, look, we can do it all, and we should do it all, because the landscape has changed. The world is different. We need different kinds of stories, and we wanted to make a movie that was just as big and loud and fun as a big blockbuster film, so that it could hold its own in the theaters. While also infusing it with as much sincerity and risk-taking and heart as our favorite indie films. And so this is we've been calling it a Beyond Sausage or Impossible Burger. It's like engineered to taste like a blockbuster. It looks like a blockbuster. But once it goes down your belly, it feels really good. Like maybe you're doing something good for the world or something. I don't know. Like that was our intention, and I really hope other filmmakers see this movie and go, I can do better. I want to do the same thing. I want to do better, because I do think we need these unifying stories to kind of help heal whatever has been happening for the past 5 or 6 years. So it's a great question. I could talk about forever.
I was going to say, I'm going to get killed if I keep you up. It's so nice to see you guys again. Look, you know how big of a fan I am of you personally, and it is so ecstatic to see this film. Congratulations. Long may it run.
Thank you for your support, man.
Jason, we'd never kill you, by the way.
See you next time.
Bye.
We will see you guys hopefully in person soon. Cheers. Take care, guys.